Yes. I'm
You
ready.
sure?
I'm ready.
You push the wrong button?
Ready.
I'm just so low energy today. Okay,
Do it.
ready? In this episode of The Full Nerd, the smallest 15-inch gaming laptop ever, NZXT's brand new case, and finally a new GeForce card.
And maybe a new CPU flaw?
Maybe.
Oh, right. Did we care about that?
It was on the graphic.
I can't
Brad
read
told me
this.
to put it on the graphic.
This is like a... Oh, and a new CPU flaw. Welcome to The Full Nerd, episode 53. I'm your host, Gordon Ung, with Brad Charkis,
Hello.
Elena Yee,
Hi, everybody.
and Adam Patrick Murray, who's still angry. I did not mention that there will be a new case flaw also mentioned in this podcast.
A new case flaw? No, definitely not a case
CPU
flaw.
flaw. Yeah, I'm just
CPU flaw.
tired.
I mean, they all know now because, I mean, they can hear us when the credits are rolling.
Oh, really?
Well, the live
Yeah.
versions,
Yeah.
but I usually take that out of the podcast version.
Oh.
So now we're
Now you
trying to
leave
play
it in.
catch up,
Oh, I
for the
see.
a new
audio
CPU
people.
flaw again. So I'm just going to derail us right now.
No. What
No.
are you talking about?
See, he's already he's pre-derailed us about his upset about the thing not mentioned about the CPU flaw. I want to roll us into the first topic, though. Pretty cool. Smallest 15-inch gaming laptop ever. Razer Blade. It's really tough. There's Razer Stealth, Razer Pro, which is the big bad one, and then you got the Razer Blade, which is a XPS 15, size. It's actually, they actually claim it as a gaming laptop because most people would not consider the XPS 15 a pure gaming laptop.
Right.
It is smaller. I think it's actually by volume slightly smaller than an XPS 15.
So, but it's going to be smaller in size, but way bigger in price, yes?
Well, yeah, of course, it's Razer. Come on, it's unibody. All right, unibody. It does have a unibody. I'm not kidding. It really does have a unibody construction, which makes it really. I held this a couple weeks ago, or actually maybe a month ago. It has a nice, really solid feel. If you've ever held a Razer laptop before, they really just feel like, really, really heavy duty because, the body is just milled aluminum or CNC aluminum. And
So that means small size, but not necessarily low in weight.
No, not necessarily. I will say definitely not in weight. In fact, I think the top end version with 4K touch and 1070 Max Q is about 4.7 pounds.
Oh.
So that's
Not bad for a gaming laptop.
Yeah.
That's
not
not
bad
bad,
at all.
though, because, I mean, was it last week? We were talking about was it the HP laptop?
Yeah, the Spectre,
The Spectre
X360 15, 4 pounds, 10 ounces.
Yeah.
It's heavy. That is a heavy laptop.
And that one only
4K touch.
has,
KB Lake G.
yeah.
But it's when I gotta say the entire weight expectations things. Don't forget about the MSI GS65, 4 pounds.
Right.
4 pounds, 0.7
But this
ounces.
is a 1070 Max Q.
Yeah.
So,
And what
They have a
type of
1070
CPU
Max Q
Does it
version
have
of
one
it.
of the 6-core CPUs?
Yeah, so across the board, it's 8th gen Core i7-80 750H, which seems like it's the only model everybody's using. 6-core Coffee Lake H, or KB Lake ++ H, whatever you want to call it, and GeForce 1070 Max Q, 1060 Max Q, 4K Touch, 1080p. 60 hertz for budget, and then also a 1080p 144 hertz, that AOU panel that everybody seems to be using. No G-Sync on any of these because, again, it's a semi-portable. It's actually a pretty portable laptop, 80 watt-hour battery. Should I pull up the prices? I will mention the prices, but then, this is like, for us, would be like, huh?
we're all going to clutch our pearls
For
after.
people that are used to Razer prices, which are almost very much like Apple prices, that's where they like to place themselves as
Oh.
competitors to Apple. $18.99 for the base one with the 60 hertz, 1080p, 1060, and then that's with the 256 gig SSD. Step up, $2,200 gets you a 144 hertz 1080p, 512 gig SSD. And still with the 1060, and then from there you get to 2400, which is a 1070 Max Q, 512 gigs, and then all the way up at the very, very top is 4K Touch, 1070 Max Q, 512 gig SSD. I'm surprised they don't go up more in the SSD capacity. $2,900.
Yum.
That's probably a
Wow.
steal in the Apple world, though. That's like, well, that's a deal. I'll take two. So, but it's pretty nice.
I thought it looked
I'm
pretty
glad
nice.
to see they're still able to shrink it down because the Razer Blade was kind of one of the first laptops to start the thin and light gaming laptop. So I'm glad to see them still, pushing ahead on that front.
Yeah, and they did the usual trick, hey, it's got no bezel, the narrow bezel, no bezel-less infinity edge, as Ed Dell likes to call it, and everybody's doing it now. Looks pretty nice. I mean, it's funny because they had the old Blade next to it, and then they had the new Blade, and the old one just looks like a 1950s CRT television with that big honking bezel. It's like having lapels that stick out past your shoulders. Which it's just so funny because whenever you look at laptops with big bezels now, it's like, whoa, what the? That is just like, what's up with your laptop? Why you can get like a second OLED panel just on the bezel, So that's what
the MacBook Air still has a fat bezel and a 720 or 768 resolution screen.
Let's not talk about that.
Well, what it is crazy because I was just thinking, God, we should write like a trolley story because it really is just funny. You look like a MacBook Pro 15, MacBook Pro 13, and the bezels are just like, it's like, come on, man.
It's all part of the iconic design, Gordon.
But it's just very old fashioned. You would think that a company like Apple that is very much into, look and feel of everything, you would think they'd be very sensitive just how ridiculous it looks to have a bezel that big.
I'm sure they can produce a video clip with someone with a very smooth British accent telling us why it's necessary.
And so the other thing about the Razer Blade, because we do want to talk about it, is it does have a vapor chamber. So it has this huge metal plate in the bottom. It's one big vapor chamber, they're saying. And it's how they think they're going to be able to keep all that hardware cool. 1060, even Max-Q 1070. Max-Q is not, certainly light on thermal. So we'll have to see how it performs.
I got to say, you did a hands-on video of that and also the Core, which we'll talk about in a minute. But go check them out on our YouTube right now. Really good look at it. And man, people are coming out in droves to love on this laptop. Even we got some people in the chat saying it's a beautiful laptop.
They are. I mean, Razers, they say what you will. There definitely are, some people like, hey, I had problems. I had one person say, hey, I can't get parts for my old laptop. But they are just beautiful laptops, right? Because his complaint is like, they don't support them anymore. They don't make them anymore, so you can't get the parts. I can't fix this thing. I'm just kind of hosed. I think that's kind of the risk with smaller laptop vendors like Razer. I mean, Dell probably sells 100 times more laptops than Razer does. So it's very small, very niche. But they are just beautiful. I mean, Razer has that aesthetic down. They really do. When you want to talk about, no matter what you say about Apple, they really do generally get aesthetics right, except when they fall behind on the curve. But Razer really just kind of has that, Apple-like aesthetic in a way, and just kind of like, except keeping up with everybody instead of Apple, making people wear.
I'm surprised they gave up the rounded corners, though.
80s suits in when everybody's wearing. You show up at a grunge party and you're wearing like an 80s suit or something with the thin tie and like, oh, that's kind of cool in a non-ironic Devo kind of way or something.
Non-ironic.
Yeah, no one even knows I'm talking about Devo grunge. What's that?
Steve who?
Yeah,
like Steve-O?
But they are just beautiful. Yeah, they are just beautiful. I mean, they're really just like you see. You're just like, oh, I'm in love with this laptop.
So did they only talk about a 15-inch version, or are they also going to have a 13, maybe 17?
Well, the 15's already been updated with Kaby Lake R 8th gen, and that is an IGP version. No IGP, no discrete in that. 17, nothing new, I don't think. I mean, it hasn't been updated yet. I would imagine they're working on that.
Okay.
So, but the 15, I think, is kind of where all the action is right now, because people want, 17s are not
pretty
that
hefty.
Pretty hefty.
Yeah.
15s are really for that powerhouse, gaming laptop. That is, I think, really where the sweet spot is. And it's pretty nice, but expensive.
Yeah, I was just looking up the comparison between that and the MSI, the GS65, and I thought, oh, maybe it's closer in price than I was remembering. Nope.
No. GS65 is 512 gig SSD. I think, right? It's
the one I'm looking at is on Newegg, and the model it's a 144 hertz panel, but it has a 256 gig SSD with a 1060,
right? And
that one's 1800.
Yeah, so 18. That would the Razer version of that is $1,900. So actually pretty close. Oh no, not the 144.
Not the 144.
Because with the 144, it's $2,200.
But you get a bigger SSD.
But you get the bigger SSD too, so that's a tough one.
But I mean, the cost differential, even accounting for the difference in size and SSD, is still quite large.
Yeah. But I got to say, if you're interested in that, the GS65 is really nice because it's just so stupidly light, but you definitely need to buy the big SSD in that because
not getting in there, right?
Well, they say you can get in there. You can take the bottom off and then remove the motherboard out of it. But if you don't put it back together and you kill it.
That's even worse than the GS63 that we first saw.
No, because the GS63 is the same thing. It was an inverter. The motherboard was on top of it.
Did you? Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, you could get to the hard drive, I think. You could not get to the M.2 drive. But I think because there was a hard drive in there. Razer, with this great big vapor chamber they say they're using, the motherboard is a conventional, it's when you take the bottom off, you can see it, but the vapor chamber covers that. So you can get to the RAM, and it does use SODIMMs this time. The previous version only used soldered, which kind of sucked if you want to change the RAM. This one has SODIMMs. But to get to the M.2 drives, I believe it does have 2 of them. I think you got to pull the vapor chamber off.
Ooh.
Which, that's worse, but that's better than, I think, pulling the motherboard out. Certainly, there are people who have taken the MSIs apart and successfully putting them back together, but I would not recommend it for the average person.
If you're spending that much on a laptop, save yourself the hassle and just get what you need up front.
Yeah, just definitely buy the biggest SSD you can. You got to say for these gaming laptops too. I don't even know why they offer 256 gig SKUs. It's really tough.
Yeah, I mean
that's like 2 games these days.
Useless. Yeah.
That's like a 16 gig Android phone. 8 gigs of that is the OS and it's full.
Even worse is the 8 gig ones.
Yeah. Really?
Those are your budget phones.
Oh, Android One.
Yeah.
So we have a comment on YouTube from Ice Cold. He says, "Do not buy any laptop until Ice Lake and LPDDR4 support." What do you guys think about that?
That's a long wait.
It's a long wait. And I will say, that was a nice thing about it. It is confirmed though, because even Cannon Lake has LPDDR4 support. So. That is out now in a laptop?
Yes, but if you're waiting for both, that's a long wait. Sorry, Brad.
I think at this point, gaming laptops are, for the first time basically ever, in a really good spot. They've been all right before, but there's always been compromise. These days, you can get 6 cores, the new GTX Pascal stuff, the GTX 10 series stuff. They're really, really strong performers for laptops. You're not giving up a whole lot compared to desktops. I mean, this is the first time in my life where I'd actually consider buying a gaming laptop. I wouldn't want to wait for Ice Lake if I was in the market.
Yeah, and I don't think LPDDR is going to be a big deal for gaming laptops because it's not going to be cheap. It's all going to be soldered in place, right? Because it's not going to be in a SODIMM. I would not make that be the determining factor. As much as I love CPUs, and I got to say these 8th gen Coffee Lake H parts are just phenomenal chips. It's usually graphics that are the thing that should drive a gaming laptop purchase. If you're doing it for other things, balance, then yeah, maybe. But honestly, when it comes down to graphics, it's Nvidia largely in charge of the graphics game in laptops right now. So,
unless you have a graphics enclosure like the Razer Core X.
Oh,
very good. Brad moving so long.
Oh,
we should have Bing get
well done.
a penny jar for actually moving on. Yeah, another thing I want to talk about is the Core X. Big deal is original core, which was like, wow, this is awesome. 2017 for $500. Built like a tank, though.
I remember when we saw that. That was cool. It was a good demo at CES.
It was an awesome demo. It was with the original Razer Stealth, and then you plugged it in. You got external graphics, and it was probably the first, demonstration of external Thunderbolt 3 graphics. Beautiful, beautiful. $500.
Also, incredibly difficult to get your hands on.
Yeah. And it is, and I got to say, it's built like a tank. If you open this thing, it's like, wow, this is a thing of beauty. It's $500. Why don't I just buy the $180 one on Amazon, right? But there's a difference. So Razer has heard all the complaints. They said, hey, look, we're not going to build it so beautiful and whatever, you cheapskates. We're still going to have our Core V2. You got that. It actually has dual Thunderbolt chips, so you can run Ethernet and USB off of it. Pretty cool, all that other stuff. But for you cheapskates, Core X is big. It takes a 3-wide video card. It uses an off-the-shelf ATX 650-watt power supply. And it has a standard fan. So it basically is, off-the-shelf parts, $300, which, with the Razer name on it for $300, that's actually pretty reasonable. But I would I was looking at some other Thunderbolt 3 cabinets. They're about $250, so it's not too far out of the...
It's not, which is really surprising.
Yeah, for the Razer name, right? So, and I guess the big deal is the Core X and the other Core line, actually, they have the blessing of Apple if you actually want to play games on your Apple laptop.
Yeah, all those two people. Really love it.
People, yes.
One of them being one of our staff members.
Yeah.
Who actually ran a review of it with the Mac the other day on Macworld.
Yeah, it's actually and he even did a video over it at Macworld on their YouTube. If you want to go check it out, it's not too bad. Question I have: how hard would it be to put storage in there as well? Because if you think about the base model with that small SSD in there, it's like, okay, you've got the real light stuff when you're going, but then you go home, you dock in your core, you get more storage and a graphics card. Is that out of the question?
Well, on this
it's like
model,
an external drive combo kind of a deal.
Yeah,
like external GPU and external drive.
Why not do that?
On this model, it is just simply Thunderbolt 3 out. So you probably could run a PCIe drive in there, but that seems kind of silly. I would probably get the original core, the V2 version, and then just run a USB 3 drive, right? So you can just plug that in to that enclosure and then run the graphics card in and plug it all in. Oh, the other thing is...
That'd be a cool way for them to make the $500 model more enticing. Consider that like the ultimate gamer's accessory.
Yeah.
You have your GPU with, an extra couple 500 gigabytes of storage.
God, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? You dock it. You would have your M.2 drive in there, and then your game library is on there. You're not going to bring it on the road. You're not going to play that in your integrated graphics on the road, right? So
right?
You could on a couple games, but
hey, Razer, call me.
For that idea. But overall, just pretty nice, and it is a just beautiful laptop and affordable for external graphics.
Yeah,
$100.
It's also really exciting to see these become a little bit more popular. I think we started with like 1 or 2 models at the outset, 2 or 3 years ago. Now I think it's up to like 5 maybe that you can choose from.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to get longevity out of things. I really like it.
I do want to ask you a question though. So I just recently did an unboxing the Alienware 17 R5. I mean, it's a big bad mother of a laptop.
yeah.
1080 overclocked and a Core i9, and the thing it is very high clock speeds, but interestingly, they still include the amplifier port.
Oh, right. For their proprietary
for the future
one, right?
Yeah, I mean, but do you think is it time to let's not do amplifier anymore? Is it time for Alienware to move over to Thunderbolt 3?
I'm a fan of standards.
Yeah.
But I also think that Alienware probably sells boatloads of laptops compared to a lot of makers and can get away with that.
Yeah.
And they're much cheaper now than the Thunderbolt enclosures, so I can see how they would justify keeping on with that. Yeah.
The amplifier has been for the last year and a half, you could get for $170 on Amazon.
Yeah.
So it's hard to beat that.
So basically, it's a value add, right, for that ecosystem, to use whatever buzzwordy term you're supposed to.
It'd still be sweet if they could swap it over to, Thunderbolt or whatever.
It would be, for sure.
Yeah, what I'd like to know is, and I haven't verified this, is because it does have Thunderbolt 3. I don't know if Thunderbolt 3 supports external graphics. It'd be kind of cool if it did, because then you have sort of best of both worlds.
Yeah.
You could get the cheap amplifier, or, we're talking 4 years down the road, you can get a Thunderbolt 3 cabinet for...
It'd be nice.
Cheap. So it would be nice, but...
Victor over on YouTube says the Alienware amplifier uses more PCIe lanes and won't bottleneck like Thunderbolt 3.
Well, it is dedicated, yeah. It's the same by 4 Gen 3, and you can't... Although there are USB ports on the amplifier, I believe, if I remember. But, you're not going to be able to share... Thunderbolt 3, you could, in theory, have other Thunderbolt 3 devices plugged in somewhere down the chain. So, but most people are just going to run the eGPU, so I don't think it's too bad.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Fun stuff.
Cool.
Love it. And you're hopefully going to get some in for testing. I know people are real excited to see how it works.
Yeah, I'm actually very excited to see the new Razer because thermals seem to be the determining factor in all of these really super compact performance laptops. So the ones that aren't going to really be cooled as well, or maybe they decide we don't want to light you on fire. They may not perform as well, so I'll be interested to see how it does compared to everything else we've seen. GS65 is a pretty awesome laptop. I think we're getting some other small form factor performance laptops in, so we'll have to see how it does.
Sweet. Before we move on, we've got a couple random questions.
Okay.
We got somebody on YouTube. I have to find one of them. But somebody on YouTube is just asking, what kind of, it's Justin, what kind of hair care products do you use on your glorious beard, Brad?
Barbecue sauce.
Yes. Yum, 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 yum. And then also the last one is Pie Gamer over on YouTube is asking, do you guys know how to turn off the Gigabyte logo on the lid of the Aero 15X Coffee Lake?
Gosh, I don't know. I didn't look.
We got a lot of people in chat saying that it might be in the BIOS, but he's saying he's not seeing it there, and then it's not controlled at the same time as the screen.
I suspect you can't turn it off, because it's probably just the LED backlighting shining up there. So it's not an independent LED like you might see on an Alienware laptop where they actually integrate LEDs along the side of the lid and into the logo itself. I think what they just did is they did an Apple trick. You mill a hole out in the middle of the cover and the light shines through from the backlighting, side lighting.
Well, no, he's saying it's not from the backlighting from the screen.
Really?
Yeah, that if he dims the screen all the way, he's still getting a logo.
Oh, interesting. But when you do dim your screen, all you're doing is on the LCD, you're just turning the shutters on the LCD. The LEDs, well, I don't know, unless they've changed recently. I don't believe they're dimming the LEDs that much. I think they're just...
Oh, huh.
I don't know. Actually, no, that might be right. That's right. So the LEDs would dim because the shutter might change for colors. They're not doing that way. That's right. I'm totally I'm thinking it's 1997 or something. So.
All right. Well, he wanted me to ask you, so
I'll ask Gigabyte. I don't think you can turn it off, though. Is the last answer. Actually, check Fusion, the Gigabyte Fusion utility. I don't think it's in there, but just check it. Where you control the.
That was going to be my suggestion.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Cool. Let's move on to the next topic, which is an NZXT topic.
Wait. Do you pronounce it that way?
NZXT.
I think it's just NZXT.
NZXT. I don't know.
I say NZXT, but I like NZXT.
NZXT topic.
Brad, you just reviewed the NZXT H500i.
Yeah, sure did. And it's pretty spectacular for a $100 case, actually. So this is the new entry, the affordable entry in the NZXT's H series, pardon me, which came out last year, towards the end of last year. Some high-end models, the H700i, the H400i was like a mini ATX version. Basically, they're clean, nice cases with ample cable routing, and the I in these names, I think it stands for intelligent. Basically, they come with a smart device, a RGB controller, and fan hub that you run using NZXT's CAM software, and all the fans and the integrated RGB strips get all controlled through that. Pardon. So anyway, this is a $100 case. There's also a version called the NZXT H500, no I, which does not have that smart device. I highly recommend both of them. These are made all out of steel. They have insanely good cable management tools, which I'm a big fan of, including a cable bar in the front, just like the old S340 cases that NZXT made that these are replacing. So all the wires that come off your motherboard get hidden behind that. On the I version, there's an RGB strip on the back of that cable management bar and at the top. And in the back, there's cutouts galore. There's all kinds of stuff. It's made out of steel with a tempered glass side. That was my most. I was impressed by the whole case, but the way they handled the tempered glass was one of my favorite bits, because tempered glass sucks to handle. I've used a bunch of cases with tempered glass, and they typically have the 4 thumb screws on the side. You got to hold it in place and screw in the thumb screws. And that sucks, because those things are kind of heavy depending on how much you spend the money. Get your fingerprints on them. Hope you don't drop it, because they're super fragile. If you hit the edge, they'll shatter. Yeah. And I've done that once, and it really sucks. But this one, it actually sits on the lip of the PSU shroud and has a little metal bit that comes around the back and hooks onto the back, and you just like lean it into the power shroud lip, push it in, and screw in a single thumb screw.
Yeah, that seems to be a new trend because the case for the RGB build that we did is the same way. Made it really easy.
Yeah, it's so great.
If you unscrew, what I'm always afraid of with the tempered glass cases is unscrewing it or hitting the release and then having the door just flop out onto the floor and shatter.
This one is actually secured really, really well. It like sets in. It ends up being flush with the steel. So you set it in and you push it closed, and it like semi kind of locks into place before you even screw it in. To test that, I actually like took my hands off of it and like blew real hard at it because I'm stupid and I thought that'd make a difference, and it didn't fall out. So,
so the management bar, and I don't know if we can. Do we have that picture, Adam?
I do. I kind of got a weird little setup here
on the screen or not, but
sorry, everybody.
Whoops, wrong one. Whoops. Hold on.
Adam's going to hold on for us. Sorry, audio listeners. It is a rectangular metal box. I will describe it for you with computer components. No, actually, there's no components in this. It's just Brad's face, though. That's
I like how there's Brad's face, and then there's just the image of the case.
I just brought it up real quick.
It's your way to do that.
This management bar, like, what the hell is that? What does it do? Because it really just...
It hides all your cables. It's adjustable. So you have the SATA cable coming out. You have the power supply cable coming out. You have the graphics card cable coming out. And it tucks it all in, makes it nice and hidden.
In other words,
and it looks good.
It's a cover, is what it is. It's a wire cover. I like that management bar. It's like, does it like loop in there? Does it have stuff you hook it to? No, it's just a cover.
Hide stuff.
I like that red though.
It does have tie points in it, so it can also be used like functionally to improve your cable management as well.
That's really nice.
So it looks, and in the back they actually have carved out routing right behind that bar, right on the back side of the motherboard tray. All kinds of real nice carved out routing with straps, which is nicer than most routing that you would see in most cases. We don't have too many pictures, but you can go look at the review on PCWorld.com and see it. They also have some routing channels to the upper right on the back of the case. So like where you would put in the 8-pin power supply on your motherboard and whatnot. It's just tie-offs throughout. It's wonderful. Plenty of room, full cover shroud at the bottom, so that you can tuck all your cables away in there too.
Nice.
God, for $100.
I know. I was just going to say, I really dig how some of what used to be just purely high-end features are trickling down. Mm-hmm. This is a good sign of things to come.
What's even better is that, like, I reviewed the NZXT H500i, the one with the smart device, which I didn't have too much chance to play with because I got it on pretty short notice. I actually worked over the weekend to get this done. But it did without it. So you load up CAM, the NZXT CAM software, and you say, analyze my stuff. And it took about 20 minutes. And it went through idle and load, went through a routine. Then it has the smart device has an acoustic sensor in there. And it figures out how to best balance out fan noise versus cooling performance. And it figured out a way to, with that 20-minute run, it didn't actually make it quieter, which is the point that NZXT is pushing. In some cases, you'll see higher temperatures after you run this because the point is to make it quieter. But in the case of my particular build, it actually dropped idle temperatures by 10 degrees on the GPU without adding any extra noise. So it worked out pretty good.
Wow, that's pretty advanced.
Yeah, but if you don't want any of that stuff, you can get this with all the the exact same thing basically, but without the RGB light strips, without the smart device, and there's a vertical GPU mount for $70, the NZXT H500. And I think that's a heck of a deal.
Nice.
Brad, do you know if they sell that particular version of the controller or the hub? Because I know they do sell like a hub accessory separately, but I don't know if it includes that sensor on it.
No, it basically pardon. It combines the functionality of their separate Hue Plus and View Plus 3. Right. There's a fan controller and there's a lighting controller, and this combines it, but together it costs way more money. So,
okay.
Maybe that's something we can ask them to to sell later because they happen to be in our YouTube chat right now. It's somebody from NZXT is in here chatting and talking to the fans. So. Hey. Yeah.
This case kicks ass.
Does it? So it actually comes with one LED RGB light strip. Two. Oh, damn.
Two. One behind the cable management bar and one on the top edge, the top lip of a type of glass.
Fixed, or can you actually move them around the case?
They're fixed.
Okay.
But one of the things that I wish it had on there, but is understandable that it doesn't in a $100 case, is a physical button on the case to be able to swap around the lighting colors. You have to use the cam software for that, but in a $100 case, not a big deal.
Can you route that to use, the 5 different motherboard standards they all follow? You don't have to use a device. You could actually just route those.
So the way they pre-wire it, so it's all done for you. Everything's plugged into the smart device, but you can unplug everything and just use standard stuff.
We have some people on both YouTube and Twitch asking about the airflow. Can you comment on airflow of the case when you're using it?
This is actually the first case that we've reviewed in a long time, so I didn't get too much into that because I don't have a lot of comparison data. Mm-hmm. I did take temperatures and stuff in this that I'm keeping for future reference points. It's pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't say it's great. It's not bad. It's pretty good. I have no complaints about the airflow.
Nice.
And I got to say, for people that are just listening or watching this video, you should definitely go to PCWorld.com and look at the review because it has the pictures embedded of the case. And I'm looking at the back of the case. You get your standard, couple mounts for SSDs, but you can see the guides Brad was talking about. They're
nice.
They're very nice. They're molded into the case. So the idea is you would route the power and data cables through the case, and then it actually has the Velcro tie downs in the case itself. So then you can just fasten them onto the case. That's pretty clever.
God, for $100. Nice.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah, that's the part that blew me away. The price, everything you get for the price, it's just so good. And again, I think I was talking with Jim Carlton, who's one of their, product managers or something. I forget who he is. His exact title, I know who he is. But Jim Carlton at NZXT. And he was saying the idea with the smart device is, a lot of people who buy gaming stuff these days, aren't necessarily hardcore enthusiasts who want to go in there and figure out and establish custom fan curves and stuff like that. So the idea with the smart device is that, it kind of takes care of all this for you. NZXT will still let you make the cam software, will still let you make custom fan curves and stuff, but the inspiration behind that is that it makes it easy. You click a button and say, yeah, I want to apply that. And they say it's gotten a lot better since it first launched with the H500i late last year, which I didn't review, so I can't comment on how it stands now versus then. But the idea is that it takes all the data from all the people who are using the CAM software to make a database. So they said it's about, originally running that initial configuration took about an hour. And in my case, it was down to 20 minutes.
Nice.
So just gets better the more that people use it, they claim.
And you do power that junction box. It does require its own power, it looks like, from the picture.
Yes. Yep.
Do you, and I just have to ask this just because I want to know, but is it run off of a SATA power cable or a Molex cable?
SATA.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. And the way all the cable routing stuff works right there, the way it all works out, I was able to real easily use the same SATA power cord to power the SATA cable in the front, which they actually do an interesting thing and put, by default, the SSD trays are underneath the graphics card. So I was able to use the same power cable to loop into there and then up through that cabling and power the smart device too.
Nice.
God, we have just gotten so sophisticated.
Yeah.
Just to think of what $100 used to get you, and $100 used to be a budget case. If you right?
It'll get you blood on your fingers. Is what happens.
But everybody, and this is the manufacturers deserve the credit for this. They have just put so much thought into the wiring because it really used to be you had to think about wiring for you would have to rewire. But these cases now, it's just like it's so cleverly laid out. They know how you're going to do it to hide the cables, and
it's so easy now. It's great.
And then, of course, the cutout, even for just a simple thing like the cutout for the back plate if you're running water cooling or a big cooler, right?
Yep. This is actually a very compact case. like I had to remove the fan that comes with it on the top in order to fit a full-size ATX motherboard in there, which took seconds. It wasn't a big deal. But you can only put full-size or 2 rad radiators in the front. It won't fit on the top because of how compact it is.
And it's mini ATX, micro ATX, and a full-size ATX, it looks like. They're standard ATX.
Yeah, full-size ATX, like I'm saying, is close, but it does definitely fit. So
this is more like mini tower size then, yeah?
Yeah, it's pretty small, actually. It's pretty compact. I was impressed by it.
Nice.
Like, I don't know, the original S340 that NZXT had for a while was very popular. I don't know if you've ever seen one. This is actually, I think, a little bit smaller than that. That was a, pretty respectably small case to begin with.
Nice.
Wow.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
It was our first case that we've reviewed in a long time at PCWorld. Hoping to do more in the future. But of course, we use cases all the time, building PCs and stuff. And glad we started with this one because it got an Editor's Choice Award.
Nice.
Yeah. God, I'm really
Editor's Choice.
I have to build a new system. I got to think, what am I going to use? So, although we are rapidly running out of time, so I do want to ask Brad about the next thing that he knows all about too.
I do.
Yes. Which is, we've been saving the best for last.
It's
I
not
know
last.
everybody on the internet.
Next to last.
Oh, right. That other thing I want to talk about. Everybody's been waiting for this moment. It's finally here.
The rumors were true. There is new GeForce hardware this summer.
Yes. So it's finally here, everybody.
Hell yeah.
You can exhale. It's arrived. And tell us all about the brand new GeForce card that's finally here, Brad.
It's what everyone's been waiting for. It's a 3 gigabyte version of the GeForce GTX 1050.
Woohoo.
Yay.
But here's the fun part. It's 3 gigabytes, right? Even though it's called the GTX 1050, it actually has as many CUDA cores as a GTX 1050 Ti, clocked higher than either the Ti or the GTX 1050. But it has 3 gigabytes of RAM that has much less overall memory bandwidth than either of them. It's a pretty confusing configuration, especially if you think that buyers are looking for a GTX 1050. I don't like the idea of how Nvidia this generation, with both this and the GTX 1060, are mixing GPU configurations under the same name. But yeah, so this is basically a faster version of the GTX 1080 Ti GPU with neutered RAM.
1050. You just said 1080. You mean 1050?
1050.
So it's like a 1050 Ti Plus is kind of like...
Sorta, but with less memory bandwidth. I asked Nvidia about it because I couldn't wrap my head around how does this all actually work out. And it'll depend from game to game, they told me. But overall, it winds up being about 10% faster than the original GTX 1050. And the pricing, they couldn't give confirmation, but it'll be somewhere in the same ballpark as the GTX 1050 and Ti.
So wait, it's so you have 1050 on the left, 1050 Ti on the right, and it's between those in performance or above the 10 or equal to the 1050
It's
Ti?
sound like between them, but still closer to the 1050 side of the scale.
That's correct.
And the 1050
10% more than the 1050 2 gigabyte.
And and the 1050 was always a 2 gig card, so as well as the 1050 Ti is also a 2 gig card, right?
4.
Oh, it's 4. Okay.
That's 4. Yep.
Okay.
So, just maybe jumping ahead here, Brad, is this a hands down obvious choice to buy over a standard 2 gig 1050, or?
I wouldn't say that, especially because it hasn't been tested yet.
Right.
There very well might be scenarios where that real weird memory bandwidth could affect game performance.
So it's the same memory width as the same as like 128-bit bus on the 1050?
No, they cut it down to a 96-bit bus, so that the overall effective memory bandwidth of the other 1050 cards, the Ti and the original, is 112 gigabytes per second. The 1050 3GB is 84. So.
And I had read something that this was a poison pill for miners.
It very well could be, yeah. There's a couple different reasons it could exist. It could exist as a poison pill because these days, like to mine Ethereum takes about 3 gigabytes and it's only been going up. So to have this have such slow memory bandwidth, limited to 3 gigabyte, it could kind of be a poison pill for miners. It could also be, at this point, this generation's lasted for 2 years. They might just have a bunch of 1050 Ti dies sitting around that they couldn't cut down to a normal 1050 for whatever reason. Just figured they might as well introduce a middle skew. So,
Enigmatastic on Twitch says, I love how Nvidia canceled the GPP because they didn't want hardware hidden behind jargon.
Yeah. I said that in my write-up too, actually. It's kind of, they said that word for word, 2 weeks ago, and then now they launched this very confusing thing. But hopefully we, or somebody at least, hopefully we will get some of these for review when they do come out. I asked Nvidia about it. They told me that this will be a partner-only launch, so only third-party cards.
Oh.
They would expect them. It was the same with the 1050 and 1050 Ti. They expect them possibly being shown off at Computex, maybe start arriving a little bit after Computex, so which is the first week of June. So,
and the price will be roughly 160, 180, kind of like that range, maybe.
Pardon me. It will depend on what prices are at that point. Because I believe the MSRP for the 1050 Ti is 140 or 150.
Yeah, good luck.
So, yeah, and it's been changing so much even the past few weeks. They've been coming down a lot every week, so I don't want to try to guess what these will cost when they come out in 3 weeks.
That's so weird. And they've done this is the only card, right? Because that 1030, we have one here for a build. Well, we're going to use it, but a GTX, I don't even know if it gets the X, a 1030 card with DDR4 in it. And it's just apparently it's a dog. I've not tested
Rusty
it.
mentioned that too.
Right? And it's just so weird because you have the GTX 1030 with GDDR5, pretty decent performance. Definitely gives Ryzen APU, a hard time. Very much faster, but this 1030 DDR part apparently is it's like you might as well just buy a Ryzen APU for it. It's just not that fast. From the numbers I've seen.
It's not just Nvidia. They've both been real bad at it this generation, especially. They always have been, both AMD and Nvidia. AMD's been pulling the same things with the
560, right?
550 and 560. The 560, I believe, the 560 is supposed to have 16 compute units, and that was an improvement versus the 460. And then after it launched, at some point they started allowing them with the older 14 compute units configuration, which brings performance back down, but not really labeling that either. So they're both pulling weird things in the low end. So before you buy anything, read those spec lines if you know what you're reading.
Yeah, there have been a lot of underground launches, including for laptops, the Max-Q, 1050 Max-Q and 1050 Ti Max-Q, which I didn't even hear about till probably a month ago, but apparently some people saw it. I think Notebook Chuck found them on the internet in drivers, in a Linux driver in January, and nobody really talked about it, and NVIDIA really is like, oh yeah, they've never launched those products. Apparently, so it's like a secret launch. I don't know.
Well, it was the same way with the 1060 Max-Q. People weren't identifying them in their systems.
Yeah, but they at least made a big deal. Hey, Max-Q, 1060, 1070 Max-Q, 1080 Max-Q. We're all going to get out here and talk about this. Isn't this awesome stuff? And then we're going to launch 10. Not even talk about these other two parts. You can't even find them practically. So I don't know. Very weird.
Yeah,
very weird.
That bugged me with Max-Q. I was going to do an article, but I ended up running out of time about how there are some laptops from pretty major manufacturers that say they have a GTX 1060 inside, but they're really running a GTX 1060 Max-Q, which, yes, it's more energy efficient, but it does also cost you performance. So, alas, I never got a chance to write that. But again, check your spec lines if you're buying budget stuff, because there's been a lot of wonky stuff going on the longer this hardware generation stretches out.
Yeah, and I guess that's probably because it gets to the end. I guess the restaurant analogy or the ice cream store analogy was we're at the end here. Well, we got some food at the bottom of the freezer. It's been in here for like a year. What do we do, boss? I'll just sell it. But it's been in here for a year. It's still good.
I was just thinking about restaurant analogy. Just like, oh, so this is like fried rice, right?
Yeah.
Where they use like day-old white rice.
Gordon. But listen, we know how you go get lunch at Lee's.
Oh yeah.
At the end of the day,
for any San
heavily
Francisco
discounted.
workers, here's my secret to surviving in San Francisco.
All the people who say
there's a deli chain that apparently is fully out of that thing about the E. coli thing. That lawsuit settled, so everything's cool now. Go there. If you at 2:30, they take all of the hot food bar and they sell it at like 25% or 50%.
Because now
off.
it's cold food bar.
No, it's still good.
They just can't sell it anymore.
You can get like 7 pounds of food for like $4.
He does this all the time.
He does this.
You just got to wait to eat to 2:30, and then you're getting like what some sucker would have bought for like $12 30 minutes before. You're now getting for like $6 or $5. I've gotten I get so much food there at 2:30. They give me the free paper bag. Actually, I pay for it in San Francisco, but you got to pay for the paper bag. But it's crazy. That's the way to do it. This is like what Nvidia saying. And you're like, oh yeah, we got the new cards coming out. Just 1053 gig. This doesn't make no sense, boss. Just sell it. We don't care.
Manique Daniel Mar Perez on YouTube says, as a rule, any odd, weird configuration on video cards equals faulty cards from the upper tier. What are you going to say?
Yeah, that's another part. That's what I was saying. It could be. Well, it has. Yeah, but it has a 1050 Ti GPU. And, obviously one of the memory controllers messed up or something. I would say it is cut down stuff.
Yeah, that's true. But okay. Well, I mean, I'm interested to see if because it is an intentionally designed as possibly a bad mining card, maybe the prices will actually be what we expect. What's the actual MSRP on this baby?
There is none.
Okay.
It's a third party launch. It's going to be in the same ballpark. After Computex.
What about those little runty 1030 picks? Are those nobody ever sold Founders Edition versions?
1060 6GB was the lowest Founders Edition card. They never made a 3GB.
But what about that little half-size, very cute looking GeForce card for the pictures? Nope. No, that never existed. That's fake.
No, it's a fake picture.
Oh.
Fake news.
It's too bad. One final thing I wanted to point out before we move on is that even though this is launching now, don't take that to mean there's not necessarily going to be new flagship Nvidia hardware this summer, because, entry-level hardware like this typically comes out a lot later than flagship stuff. So, if a GTX 1180 did come out in July or next month, it could be 5 months before we get around to a 1150 kind of system. So don't necessarily take this to mean nothing's coming from Nvidia this summer.
Are you saying you want to talk about the rumors there, Brad?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Rumors.
Because it sounded like you said 1180 in July, which I've read too.
At Computex.
I've heard everything now. I honestly think it's disinformation from Nvidia at this point. They're just throwing dates out to everybody to keep everybody guessing. July, August, September. I've heard everything.
It's just a new way for them to track who's leaking what.
Maybe they think the leak is inside, so they have to just tell everybody inside the wrong date too, so they confuse her. Could you imagine having to work like that? That would kind of suck. He said he needed it tomorrow. It's going to launch next week. Oh, I heard next month. What? What's going on here?
We got a lot of people saying they think Computex. Yeah, we don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's been about 2 years since the GTX 10 series. It's been more than. It was early May when the GTX 1080 was announced in 2016. But what really, so I'm thinking, I was already thinking, leaning towards, hey, I believe these reports that it might be the summer. But what really makes me think that there might be some validity to that is that at the last, to get boring for a second, Nvidia fiscal quarterly call, the CEO said that they expect the profits from miners to go way, way down in the next quarter. So one way to ramp those back up is by introducing a new series of video cards that gamers will want to buy. So I think there's a lot of stuff coming together that suggests it could be this summer.
What do you think?
Beyond the fact that it's been 2 freaking years.
What do you think of my theory, Brad?
What was that?
My theory that
he's got food left over.
No, not the leftover food, but what's. See, you know what? I can tell you. I bet the 1180 would have been out last month. Except, you know what? Internet. You pissed Nvidia off of all your complaining about GPP, all the hand wringing we all did. Oh, you got to wait longer now. No 1180 for you for now. No, they can be angry. You're not good enough.
One last question on GPUs. Manrique Daniel Mar Perez. That's my best accent I can do. He says, if video cards were more power hungry, wouldn't mining be over?
No, not really, because they make. I don't even think electricity is necessarily what's the cause for miners, right? I mean, it's not killing them. They're making so much money off of this anyway. It doesn't matter.
Well, it depends on the price of what's being paid.
Right.
Because like right now, it's you get so little for your Bitcoin or whatever. You don't mine Bitcoin with the GPU. Well, but the equivalent.
Justin follows up and says, what if the video cards launch at double the power draw and then update it later to lower it?
They could do like they did with the what was it? The Titan XP drivers, where after the Vega stuff launched, they're like, oh, here's some drivers. Now it can do workstation stuff. They could do the same thing, but with drivers to reduce power efficiency.
There you go. Boom.
Yeah, I will say it's interesting because this came up before the Vega launch. I was talking to AMD. It's like, well, what about putting poison pill? What if you like actually make a BIOS on the card that makes it bad for mining, right? And they explained to me that we thought about that. We looked at all options because AMD had been very concerned about miners when they said that the mining, there's so much money in mining that they actually have people custom writing, BIOSes for these cards. They would probably install their own anyway. They would circumvent any short circuits, short of making a video card that has less memory bandwidth than the previous model. So there's really not.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
The 1180 Ti will have 3 gigabytes of memory.
And nerf everybody.
And you add it later. Go back to people don't remember this, but at one point you could actually add memory to a video card.
No way.
No, I'm not. You can find it.
That'd be funny.
ATI did it way back. It was a video card that had, like a sodium style slot to put additional memory on it.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think it was an all-in-one that did it. The all-in-one Wonder? Is that the all-in-wonder? I forget. God, it's been such a long time.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So, well, we'll have to see. Are we going to get one in for a review, Brad?
I got to ask people. I got to ask around.
Okay. Maybe we won't care.
Just got to talk to people.
Just a 1050.
Yeah. We got like...
I like to review everything, so...
Got almost 10 minutes to hit this last topic.
Oh. I was just thinking, I thought we'd take questions first, but yeah, we're going to... Last topic, Brad...
It's not even going to take 10 minutes.
Brad, so I understand there's a new exploit, but Brad is going to tell us the complicated measure to prevent this latest Spectre meltdown exploit on PC.
Yeah, it's kind of like a sister to Spectre and Meltdown, the same speculative execution flaw. So those have been out for months now, those browser patches, and those browser patches should keep you as safe as possible against this for now. So just make sure your browser's updated and you'll be good to go. There are additional software protections that need to happen to fully mitigate it. Expect for those to come in OS updates later, but really just keep your browser updated. What's interesting is that Intel says it also needs firmware patches. So it's passed those out, but it's passing them out with the protection actually disabled by default. So it's going to be sending out firmware updates. You'll be getting BIOS motherboard updates, and they'll have protection against this new flaw disabled by default because it hurts 2 to 8% performance, an additional hit, Intel says. AMD is not even shipping out new firmware for it. It's basically saying just use the OS updates that have been coming out. So keep everything up to date software wise, and you should be good to go.
That 2 to 8% performance hit, is that on top of what you're already getting out of the previous cache exploits?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Ouch.
So I can understand why they want it disabled by default. It does make it kind of seem like PR theater because they're like, yeah, we'll ship this out, but it's not a big deal. You don't even have to turn it on. And like I said, AMD is not even shipping out new firmware to address it. So
it doesn't sound like anybody's taking it that seriously. Not like
it made big headlines this week. Don't panic. Keep your operating system and your browser fully up to date, which you should be doing as an everyday normal consumer user as much as possible anyway. So
what about people who are never going to get the previous BIOS updates for Spectre Meltdown? Is it just Spectre? I forget which one.
Spectre. It's Spectre for the BIOS updates.
Yeah.
Meltdown was done. That was primarily Intel chips, and that could be tackled wholly by Windows. These Spectre patches are a combination of firmware updates and software operating system updates. And they've gone back about 8 years, I think, 7 years worth of both AMD and Intel.
I got one.
In theory, they've passed them along to motherboard makers, but motherboard makers haven't been in a rush to push out.
Yeah, that's true.
8-year-old patches.
I got lucky because I actually have an Intel motherboard.
Well, and I think about it. They probably just patched that one, so say we fixed it all the way back. Look, this ancient motherboard that's just a POS.
Hey,
that it's just terrible. We patched that all the way back there. So what about everybody else in between? I don't know. Tough. That sucks. But okay. This is gonna keep
not
happening.
that big of a deal. It made headlines. It's gonna keep happening. Yeah, exactly. Because now that they know what kind of thing can trip these up, people are just going to be hammering them. Researchers are going to be hammering them. They'll keep finding these. So keep everything up to date.
But this is ARM too, right? It's not just x86. It's ARM too.
Yep. It was the same with the original Spectre.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure you will be getting a update for your Android phone for whatever the settlement is.
Your Surface 2 RT.
Yeah, that is actually probably the safest platform in the world because nothing would run on it. I mean, really, there's nothing that could probably break a Surface RT. I know people say security by obscurity is not a good idea, but I'm sorry, but
it is.
You're sitting in Antarctica, 180 miles away from the main station on Antarctica. There's no one that's going to break into your house. You could leave it unlocked.
Because no one wants to go there.
Yeah, it's just not Surface RT. Yeah, we're really going to go fishing for that one. So, all right, and we are just about out of time. Do we have any questions left over?
Nah, nothing lingering. No, not at all.
I'm low energy today anyway, so
it's Thursday.
More coffee. It's Thursday. In case of the Thursdays. All right. Hopefully, actually. Come back next week. I really want to talk about this thing I was briefed on this morning. That will be very interesting. Well, I do want to hear what everybody has to say.
I'm interested now.
And next week will be before Computex because you leave at the end of next week, right?
Yeah, I'll be leaving, getting on a big airplane.
So the week after that, you'll be gone all week, right, for Computex?
Yeah, although we could try to stream something, I guess.
Yeah, maybe we try to do something. And then the week after that, I'm with Hayden for E3.
Oh.
Wait. We're forgetting something very important.
What's that?
Yep.
Aren't we doing a build next week?
Oh, yep. Oh, right. I see now. People don't want to know.
Yes.
I got secrets. When I do the budget build, I got secrets. You will turn your nose up at them. I don't care.
So I helped buy some of the parts because Gordon's had to put so much on his car for Computex that he's like, please, someone help me out here with the expenses. And he's telling me to buy these parts and at least 3 of them. I said, are you really sure about this? And he's like, yes. I'm like, okay.
I got secrets here. You can see how to do the ultimate scrimpy build, I think.
Well, so actually, since the build is next week and we're giving all these lovely people a preview, we should do a video for YouTube tomorrow.
And what we're going to
pre-build,
pre-built. Yeah. We won't have the parts, I don't think yet.
Whatever.
We don't have all of them yet, but you can talk it through.
Yeah, we'll simulate it with PC building simulator.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah, perfect. And then also somebody asked, I think it was Rusty. He was asking about the RGB build, which the video was going to go live today, but I messed up. So that video will go live hopefully tomorrow.
You didn't mess up.
I just forgot something.
You forgot something.
I forgot a lot of things.
There's a special extra with that particular post-mort wrap-up. So
what's that?
Definitely check in. I'm not going to ruin the surprise.
Man,
yeah.
You guys keep dropping hints for stuff. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm interested.
Yeah, at the end of the video, you got to get through all the way through the end of the RGB build post-mortem video.
It's very empty in there.
Yeah.
I'm just noticing the cases. I'm just looking back on that. That's just it's so empty. What's that whole empty spot there?
Empty? What do you mean by empty?
That whole spot in front of the video card where
It's called airflow.
Oh, okay. You can put a whole nother system or person in there. So now I want to know. I got to watch the video.
All these hints. Yeah,
just more stuff for everyone to check out.
And Full Nerd next Thursday.
Full Nerd next Thursday, and a Build It next video, as well as whatever this hinty thing. When are you going to do that? When are you going to drop that video? When will we find out?
Either the end of today or
first thing tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, the minimal written component's already ready to go, so I'm just waiting for the video. Sorry.
So tomorrow's the RGB build. Is it Tuesday that we're doing the budget build?
I think so, yeah.
Well, we didn't say what the build was yet, but...
mystery build then?
Mystery build.
And Thursday, Full Nerd. So we got a lot of stuff coming up.
Yeah, and then Computex. So it's going to be a really packed couple of weeks.
Computex.
We'll see. Computex. Quick predictions. What's going to happen in Computex?
Not a lot.
All right.
As far as new core hardware is involved.
2080.
Oh,
they're going to call it 20 instead of, they're going to go 10, 20, 30.
Oh, man.
I predict that companies might show off their new GTX 1050 3GB cards.
It's like if you sat on a plane for 14 hours to see a 1050 card. People would just be flipping tables of stuff over.
That would be the ultimate troll, right? You get to ASUS's booth, and they're like, This is what you came here for.
Yeah, they like one-handed on the table. They were hiding in their palms.
Although I gotta say, it is for a lot of gamers, that is a great card to have.
I'm not making fun of that.
If it's affordable.
I'm not making fun of that part. I'm just saying that going on your point that if you are in a metal tin can for 16 hours, and that's what you see.
Yeah,
we should do a segment on that next week. Computex predictions.
Yeah, we should definitely.
Oh yeah. Let's save it for them.
Computex.
Okay.
Save it for them.
All right.
Let's take us out of here.
All right. Check back next week for your fix of PC talk on the Full Nerd. For audio listeners, listen and subscribe on iTunes. Also, leave a review on iTunes. Every time you do, Nvidia adds 1 kilobyte of memory to a video card. Also, you can hear us on Google Play or Stitcher. Send questions and comments to the Full Nerd at PCWorld.com. I'm Gordon Ung with Brad Charkis.
Adios.
Elaine Yee.
Bye, everyone.
And Adam Patrick Murray will hit the off switch.
Keep your eyes open for that special surprise on YouTube.
Damn, it better be good.